Hey YouTube, Untamed here. Dealerships hate it when you know these 7 things. If you stick with me throughout today's video, I'm confident in saying you will save thousands of dollars on your next vehicle purchase. So for starters, most car salesmen are paid predominantly out of their commissions, right? Every time they sell a vehicle, they get a cut of that. They get a commission of it. So it really should come as no surprise that when they're selling you a vehicle, they're trying to maximize that sale price. They're trying to maximize the amount that they sell that vehicle for, maximize the profit on that vehicle, really at your expense, right? But that will ultimately line their pockets a little bit better. There's a reason why more people would rather go to the dentist comparatively to going to buy a new vehicle, to try to negotiate a new vehicle, right? And that's a sad reality. As I will purposely leave the best tips, tricks, and advice for the very end of this video. The last 2 items on this list here will undoubtedly save you thousands of dollars. And if you frequent my channel, you know I follow the car market quite closely. The vehicle inventory right now across the United States far exceeds demand. So there's a lot more vehicles to be sold than there are interest in it, right? So have that in the back of your mind. It is certainly a buyer's market. Do not let a dealership convince you otherwise. Every single month that passes by, that dealership is losing money on their inventory, right? Every single vehicle on that lot is costing that dealership a flooring cost. Every single vehicle is on a line of credit. Dealerships don't just own all of their inventory, so every single month they're paying a small interest fee, kind of like on a credit card, right? That flooring cost begins to eat at a dealership over several months if they have several hundred vehicles, which is quite common, right? And when you add on to the fact that depreciation begins to hit when those vehicles actually begin to age out, that becomes a huge pain point for so many dealerships. So why should you listen to me? I imagine you see a ton of these videos all over YouTube. For starters, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to sell you a book or a service or any kind of package deal, whatever it is. I just want you to be better armed, better equipped to go negotiate your next vehicle purchase. Buying a vehicle today has become overly nuanced, overly complex, and navigating it can be pretty tricky. And that's why so many people just try to avoid it. The salesmen, on the other hand, they're like trained in the dark arts, it seems, right? They want to try to trick you into buying all these packages, all these extended warranties, all these additional fluff, right? Just to maximize the amount that they make on that deal. So I want you to be better equipped, better armed on your next purchase. So stick with me. And for whatever it's worth, my credibility stems from the fact that I did own and operate a successful nationwide auto brokerage service where I would locate and negotiate deals for my clients. That was very successful. On top of that, if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know that I have personally negotiated a number of deals on my own behalf for the channel here, right? So you've seen that firsthand. And as a final point, parting shot, I do personally have a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology. I love following organizations, understanding the decisions they make and the impacts that it has on you and I, the consumer. I love digging deep into it and doing that research. So let's get into it. So tip number 1 would be to always negotiate the out the door price. Obviously, to a lot of people, this is a no-brainer. However, a lot of folks still fall victim to the whole, hey, what do you want your monthly payment to be? And that allows that dealership, that sales rep, a lot of latitude to still insert a ton of bogus fees, a bunch of bogus protection plans, extended warranties, blah, 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 extend the loan term amount, and still stiff you with a huge final price tag of the vehicle. So do not negotiate the monthly payment, negotiate the out the door price tag. The out the door price tag includes everything. Includes absolutely everything. All the fees, all the additional doc fees, all the taxes, registration. Get that final out the door price tag, negotiate that figure. What are you ultimately doing by negotiating the out the door price tag? You are ultimately impacting the monthly payment. So if you get a really good out the door price tag that you're happy with, you're effectively negotiating a nice monthly payment. Your monthly payment is going to be more so based on your loan term duration, whether it's 60 months, 72 months, 84 months, whatever it ends up being, that's going to ultimately impact how much that monthly payment is truly. But negotiating the out the door price tag, that's going to be the biggest driver of it. My second tip would be to ask that finance rep what the buy rate is for your interest rate. If you end up financing through the dealership, they likely have a buy rate from the lending institution. A lot of dealerships prefer it if you finance through them because they get a kickback from their preferred lenders, right? So if they get you a loan arranged, they might have a buy rate of maybe 4.7% on your vehicle purchase, right? But they'll still try to sell you that interest rate of maybe 5.7%. They'll uptick it 1 full percent on you, and they're not really expecting you to ask that question. Ask them, hey, what is your buy rate versus that sell rate, the sell rate to you? That 1% deviation between the 4.7 and the 5.7 allows that dealership to earn a bit of a kickback. And no matter what, if that dealership arranges for the lending to take place, they're going to receive some sort of monetary kickback, whether it's $500, $750, up to $1,200, sometimes a little bit more than that if it's a large vehicle purchase, an expensive one, over a long loan term of duration. So keep that in mind, that they're getting a little bit of a monetary kickback when you finance through them. My third tip would be to just be fully aware that the protection packages, protection plans, extended warranties that the dealership is trying to sell you are hugely inflated in price tag. Just know that there's a tremendous profit margin on all of those packages, and they are 100% negotiable. So I will often refuse protection plans and packages and extended warranties personally. Generally speaking, I will buy Toyotas, and generally speaking, they have a really good reputation of longevity and reliability, so that kind of adds to my calculation there to not buy them. And I generally will encourage folks to not fall victim to buying those, because they are hugely inflated, and you just can't help but feel like they're taking advantage of you when they're trying to push them on you. But if you do want to buy some sort of protection plan or package, just know that you can negotiate it down tremendously. I'm talking like 80 to 90% down, right? They'll try to sell it to you for $2,000 over the course of your loan, and how they're gonna push it to you is, hey, it only changes your monthly payment by $12 a month. That's how they're gonna push it to you. Look at the bottom line figure. How much is it costing you? If it's $2,000, say, no, I'm not interested in buying it unless you're willing to sell it to me for $300. I'm not going to buy that. More often than not, they're going to come down tremendously in price, because they, again, get a little bit of a kickback when they sell those products and packages to you. Same goes for extended warranties too. Those have a tremendous profit margin on them. If you're going to buy a protection plan of some sort, just make sure that it is a manufacturer, through the manufacturer plan, okay? What I mean by that is, if you end up buying a rock chip protection plan for your vehicle or a windshield protection plan, make sure that it allows for OEM replacement, not some third-party replacement where they put a cheap Chinese, very brittle windshield back on your vehicle, but an OEM one. Just something to look out for. And my fourth tip would be to hold your cards close to you as you're navigating the negotiation process. And what I mean by that is, more often than not, that car salesman, the first question that they're going to ask you is, are you planning to buy outright? You can pay in cash, or are you financing? They're going to ask you that probably among their first couple of questions to you. The next following question generally is, are you planning to trade in a vehicle? Do you have a trade-in, right? So you want to be sure to hold those close to you until the end of the deal. I personally never answer those questions until the very end. I purposely will negotiate the price tag of the vehicle before leveraging my financing. If I intended to finance the vehicle the whole time, I would use that as my final weapon within my arsenal, right? Because like I mentioned before, they get a small kickback from the lending institutions. And by them getting a kickback, they're willing to maybe cut you an even better deal if you agree to finance with the dealership or through the dealership, right? So when they ask you, are you financing or paying cash? I say, well, I'm still undecided on that. I'm more focused on getting the best deal possible on this vehicle purchase. I kind of leave it at that. And if they ask, hey, do you have a trade-in? Say, I might have one, but again, let's focus on the sale price of the vehicle and we'll see where we go. So leave it till the end. Same can be said about a trade-in. Ask any general manager of any dealership. They'll be quick to tell you that they make the largest amount of their money through their service department, where they're actually performing service and maintenance on vehicles, and their trade-ins. The new vehicle inventory is almost like the eye candy to bring you onto the lot, to get you into the door. But again, the trade-in that you give them is going to be what they'll make a tremendous amount of money and profit on. So keep that in mind. Personally, whenever I am planning to finance a vehicle, I'll use that as my final piece on the chessboard to bring down the price tag a little bit more, like I alluded to. But I'll generally ask for $1,000 less. So pretend we negotiated a deal to $41,000 for a Toyota Tacoma, right? I would say, hey, if you're willing to accept $40,000, I'd be willing to finance through you guys, through the dealership. And more often than not, and at least in my experience, they're willing to at least meet you halfway, bring it down $500 for you. Because again, if it means making a deal happen, they're going to make up for it in their finance lending institution kickback anyway, they'll likely do it. And tip number 5 would be to get your own pre-approval when it comes to financing in advance. Much like buying a house, I think it's important for you to know that you can get a number of pre-approvals, a number of credit checks for a vehicle purchase, all within a small window, all within a small time frame without it hindering your credit score that much. Instead of it being hit as multiple hits to your credit, if you went and got 4 different pre-approvals within a week and a half, they'll be bulked into one credit score hit. That's generally what happens, right? Same goes for buying a house. They know that you're gonna wanna shop around a little bit when it comes to getting your mortgage or your lending institution for your mortgage. They understand that. They know that you're not just gonna go out and have one bank pull your credit and then be good with it and be happy with it. They know you want to shop around. So just know that you can shop around a little bit, go get pre-qualified at your local credit union, see what that interest rate is, have that in writing, get that APR in writing, and then go to the dealership. And by the time you reach the end of the negotiation, you say, hey, if you're willing to take $1,000 more off the price of the vehicle, I'd be willing to finance through you guys. You can say that to them and say, hey, here's my pre-approval right now with the credit union. If you're willing to beat that, I'd be willing to go through you guys. And generally speaking, they'll get very, very close to it or match it. By you doing that, you are allowing yourself to be in the driver's seat a lot more when it comes to whatever interest rate you get. Because like I said, they can get the buy rate from the lending institution and it might be 5%, and they'll still try to stiff you with a 7% interest rate, which is the national average right now on a new vehicle purchase. So they may try to stiff you with a larger interest rate. But again, if you came there with your own pre-approval from a credit union already, well, their hands are tied a little bit, right? They know that you're fully aware that you can get approved at a much lower rate, so they're going to do their best to try to match it. Now for perhaps the most important piece of advice that I have for you. If you take anything away from this entire video, please allow it to be tip number 6 here. Now, when I go locate and negotiate vehicle purchases, whether it's for someone else or myself, I will always do this. I'll pick up the phone and call a dealership that has the same exact vehicle that I'm interested in a few states away, 3 or 4 states away. I'll call dealerships and say, hey, I'm interested in that Chevy Silverado ZR2 Bison that you have there. Are you willing to work a deal with me if it means booking a plane ticket and flying out there and buying it from you? I'll get their best possible deal in writing. I'll say, hey, give me your best deal. Let me see it. I'd like to check it out. Make sure all the fees are all included. Can you send it to me in writing? Can you email it to me or text it to me? And more often than not, they will. And they'll do it without too much commotion. So they'll get their best deal in writing, and then I take that deal in writing, and then I call another dealership a little bit closer to me. Every time I pick up the phone, I'm calling a dealership closer and closer to where I live. So maybe I'm 2 states away at this point. I'll call another Chevy dealership and say, hey, I see that you have a Chevy Silverado ZR2 Bison on your lot. I currently have a deal from this other dealership, not too far away from you guys. Are you willing to beat it? I specifically ask them, are you willing to beat it? I'm not asking them to match it. Are you willing to beat it? Then they'll go back, they'll hem and haw for a minute, go talk to their manager, and more often than not, in my experience anyway, they will beat it. They'll beat it by $500 or $1,000 or a little bit more if it means trying to earn your business. Then they send that to you in writing. And you do that same thing. You do the same thing 3 or 4 more times, each time getting to a dealership closer and closer to you, and each time they're likely beating it just by a little bit. By the time that you have called 4 or 5 different Chevy dealerships, you're ready to call the dealership in your backyard. You're ready to call a dealership up the road from you and say, hey, I've called around to a few dealerships. This is the best deal that they're willing to offer me for their Chevy Silverado ZR2 Bison. Are you willing to beat it for me? I'm local to you. Can you make me a deal? And in my experience, they will, and they'll beat it by a little bit. On that note, I'm always baffled by the fact that so many people, they want a great deal on a vehicle and they despise the whole negotiation process, but they're not willing to invest a few hours into it. You know, a vehicle purchase is the second largest purchase that most Americans will make throughout their entire lifetime, only second to their house, of course, right? So why not invest a few hours into it? I'm talking one afternoon of your life, picking up the phone, calling a bunch of dealerships, and I assure you, if you take that tactic, take that approach, you will save thousands on your purchase. Honestly, the worst case scenario that happens is your local dealership refuses to come down to the price tag that you got. And well, worst case is you might need to book a one-way plane ticket to maybe 1 or 2 states away from you to fly out there to buy that Chevy Silverado ZR2 Bison and then drive it back. So heaven forbid you spend $350 on a plane ticket and go pick up your vehicle. One thing to note is if you end up doing that, more often than not, that dealership will send a sales rep to go pick you up from the nearest airport, assuming it's not like 2 hours away. But if it's within reason, they will send a sales rep to go pick you up from the nearest airport to drive you back to the dealership for you to buy that vehicle. So just have that in mind, that is 100% an option. If it means saving $5,000 to $10,000 off your vehicle purchase, it's certainly worth spending $350 and maybe a day or 2 flying out to buy it. Now tip number 7, my final tip for you guys. This is perhaps your strongest weapon that you have, and so many people fail to do it or are afraid to do it. More often than not, people will go to a vehicle dealership, fall in love with the vehicle, and they get so committed, they get so married to that vehicle, as if there's not an abundance of that same exact vehicle available elsewhere. Do not get married to these vehicles. The piece of advice that I have for you is do not be afraid to walk away. Walk away from the dealership. Even if you kind of feel pretty good about the deal, If you walk away, I mean it when I say that this is perhaps your most powerful weapon, because when you walk away, I assure you, they will be blowing up your phone within minutes, perhaps hours, calling your phone saying, hey, I think we could do a little bit better for you if it means getting you back in here. They want to make that sale happen, right? Especially if it's at the end of the month. I didn't include this in the tips here, but at the end of the month, that's when they really want to move that metal and they want to move their inventory toward the end of every single month, okay? So, do not be afraid to walk away. They will call you back within a few hours, worst case, a day or two later, saying, hey, we can work a better deal for you if it means getting your business, right? So walk away. You will save money by doing so. Perhaps the worst thing you can do is go to a dealership, walk into it, check out a vehicle without doing a ton of homework online in advance, right? You don't know what the market is truly on that vehicle. You don't know what the discounts are on that vehicle you're interested in. Do homework in advance before walking into a dealership. Personally, I've never walked into a dealership until I had a deal fully arranged and negotiated. I don't let them waste my time. Obviously, they'll sit you down in their chair and they'll begin wearing you out. Hey, let me go talk to my manager. Let me see what I can do. I'll be right back. And they'll go back and forth for hours, right? They'll do it for hours to wear you out and waste your time to get you to the point where you're like, gosh, man, I've been here for a few hours. They are saving me a little bit of money. Okay, deal. I'll make a deal happen. That's what they want. Do not be that prime victim for them. Although we didn't talk about it too much in this video, the same can be said for a trade. If you have a trade-in, be sure to take a dozen or more photos of the interior and exterior and be ready to send all the details to the sales rep. I'm talking the VIN number, the mileage, any dents, dings, pictures of any dents, windshield chips. Be honest with the condition of your trade-in. It'll save you a lot of heartache later. But offer that up to the sales rep. Say, hey, unfortunately, I'm too far away to just drive in there for you to check it out, but I do have a bunch of photos I could text you real quick and the condition and all the details if you can give me a sight unseen appraised value for the trade-in. And in my experience, more dealerships than not will do that for you. So the same can be said with your trade-in value. By the time you get to the end of the deal and you get to a price tag where you're happy with on the actual vehicle, see how much they're willing to do for your trade-in. And you can do that at every single dealership. Again, calling a dealership closer and closer to you along the way, asking them to beat the deal, beat the trade-in value for your trade-in, and beat the sale price of the previous dealership. Keep working your way back. It's just a little bit more complicated with the trade-in, but doable. Goes without saying, of course, the dealership's gonna ask you, hey, when can I get you in here? When can you take time to pop into the dealership? Always tell them, hey, unfortunately, I'm a little bit too far away from you just to pop in. I wanna make sure we have the numbers right on the deal and the numbers make sense before I take my time to drive into the dealership. It's always fair to tell them that because they're gonna ask you, when can we get you in? Don't just drive in there, trust me. As a parting shot, I almost didn't include this in this video, but I figured why not? If you do find a great deal, right, and you feel great about the deal and the dealership works with you tremendously, they don't push all the additional bogus onto you, and you're happy with your purchase, at the end of it, write up a 5-star review, 5-star Google review for them, write that up for them, screenshot it, send it to your sales rep, send it to the sales manager, let them know that you're very happy with your experience. Obviously, they're gonna see it no matter what, but send it to them as well. And that is the beginning of building a loyal relationship, right? And I think we've lost that. We've lost that throughout the last 3 to 5 years. Throughout the pandemic, so many dealerships fell victim to greed. They fell victim to just treating all of their customers like another number, right? Another brick in the wall. And they just said, hey, well, if you don't buy it, somebody else will buy it. If you don't buy it, somebody from California will call in and pay 10 grand over. They just started treating us like another number. And we lost the good old days of building relationships with customers and dealerships, right? I don't know about you guys, but my dad, he bought Chevys his entire life from one sales rep out in Washington State because he developed a really good relationship with that guy and trust with that sales rep. That doesn't happen anymore, but I'm encouraging you to do this because I think we need to get back to that. Build up that relationship, be a returning customer. Tell them like, hey, I'm really happy with my experience. I hope you'll treat me well the next time I buy, maybe 3 to 5 years. Wrap up the video there, guys. Hopefully some of you found some value in this video, and let me know if you do. Let me know if you deploy these tactics and it actually helps out in your next vehicle purchase. I'd love to hear that kind of feedback from you guys. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you taking the time to tune into these videos. Again, if you found value in it, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a lot, and I promise it doesn't go unnoticed. Until next time.